Salam, salam, that means peace, and peace be with all the righteous people out there. I hope you're doing well. It's me, Sammy, here with some more interesting details about the history of our homeland, my mother's homeland, known as Eritrea. So, first of all, I hope you're doing well. Last we spoke, we talked about the Eritrea and we talked about Eritrea, but we talked about the presence of we talked about the 5 Beja kingdoms, and we talked about the presence of the Ottoman Turks. Then we spoke about Eritrea in the 19th century. We talked about Eritrea's different areas and who inhabits them. Not every single tribe, but just the major areas like Midri Bahri and Dankalia, Barka. We spoke about those areas. That was last we spoke. Now it's time for, I'm just checking to see if we have anything that should be mentioned before we get started with I don't see anything. So, so in any case, we spoke about Eritrea in the 19th century, and we talked about its basically, who controlled some of those places. So Dankalia was always controlled by the Afar until the Italians came. Samhar of Masawa was under Arab/Islamic influence. Dankalia, we already talked about Dankalia. Barka was where the Bani Ammar and the Kunama and other Nilotic peoples lived, like the elite and the those who were known. I don't like to call them Baria. Baria means slave, but the Nara, where they were. That we spoke about that. Midri Bahri and who lived there, the Tigrinya speaking peoples. Now we're going to speak about Eritrea under Italian rule. Under Italian rule, 1890 to 1941, 51 years under Italian rule. So, I feel that I said what needs to be said. I like to, just kind of refresh our memory, before I get started. Anyway, so B, this is B. Eritrea under Italian rule, 1890 to 1941. Before anything, as always, I begin in the name of God, the compassionate, the merciful. I praise and I glorify him as he ought to be praised and glorified. Eritrea under Italian rule, 1890 to 1941. The survey of the entire period before the advent of the Italians showed that the coastal peoples, or at least those found between Masawa and the Marab River, between Masawa, the coast, and the river, and the Marab River, were, by virtue of the constant contact they had with the outside world, gradually but surely becoming different from their kinsmen in the interior of the continent. Very, very important statement here. I have to reread it. The survey of the entire period before the advent of the Italians showed that the coastal peoples, Eritreans, coastal peoples, or at least those found between Masawa and the river Marab River, were by virtue of the constant contact they had with the outside world. They had constant contact with the outside world, gradually but surely becoming different from their kinsmen in the interior of the continent. So they gradually became different from people in the interior, i.e. Ethiopians, for example. Those who are known today as Ethiopians, they gradually became different from them due to the constant exposure to that which is from foreign places. This is one of the things that shaped Eritrea, that made it unique. Their kinsmen, they are their kinsmen in the interior of the continent. That's true, they are their kinsmen. The Italian rule did not only accentuate the differences, but also furnished the material factors that gave birth to a distinct identity grouping, albeit loose, called the Eritreans. So the Italians, not only did they accentuate the differences, but also furnished the material factors that gave birth to a distinct identity grouping, albeit loose, called the Eritreans. So this new group of people were called the Eritreans, and we didn't name ourselves that. We didn't call ourselves that. It's our slave name. I'm saying this. This is the truth. You may not like to hear that, but this is the truth. We did not brand ourselves as Eritreans. It was a name given to us by somebody else. That's what happened. Someone who had a problem with our way of living, someone who looked down upon us, someone who enslaved us. This is a serious matter, by the way. It's not a joke. The major Italian aims for colonization, aside from providing them with a source of pride to imperialist sentiment, Italians, were three. They had three aims, the Italians. A, to channel the then quite fast-growing Italian emigration to Eritrea instead of to the United States, so to channel the emigration to Eritrea instead of the U.S. And that can be found in Haggai Ehrlich. Remember, I don't know if I mentioned him here in this series, Haggai Ehrlich. That's Haggai Ehrlich, The Struggle Over Eritrea, 1962 to 1978. Stanford, that's the person who wrote it, I believe. And it was published by the Hoover Institution in 1983. Page 3. I believe that Mr. WoldeYesus has added in the footnote, newly unified Italy with its large unemployed labor wanted settler colonies. It wanted places to put its people, surplus people, like we learned in Dr. Adam Sagad's text. Surplus population. Go to that series if you want more information about that, or read the article, The Historical Orbit of Eritrea's Agony. So A, it was to channel emigration to Eritrea instead of the United States. B, to obtain raw materials for Italian industries and market for exports. So what are these raw materials, or where can we find that? Sherman mentions that. I believe we mentioned his text in one of the previous episodes of this series. The Italians cultivated cotton, tropical fruits, sisal, and coffee for the home market. So materials for Italian industries and market for exports. And C, they did more than Isaias. And C, your Isaias, Mr. Mr. and Mrs. Higdef, your Isaias. I have to address you guys. Your Isaias, what has he done? What did he do? What did he do that you're praising him? You guys, you worship him. What did your idol do? The Italians did more than him. These slavers, they did more than the other slaver. And he's black. They were white. That means they were white. Anyway, so C, to prepare Eritrea as a springboard for further African conquests. So Mr. WoldeYesus Ammar writes, the conquest of Abyssinia was Italy's main interest over the Eritrean coast, but this was frustrated at the Battle of Adwa in 1896. Mussolini, however, succeeded to invade Ethiopia in 1935. Both incidents made Ethiopia a symbol of black nationalism. They made Ethiopia a symbol of black nationalism. So do you see, it's as Dr. Alam Sagad wrote. Dr. Alam Sagad said, he's a Tigrayan. He said that Eritrea was meant to be a gateway. I wouldn't doubt that he would disagree with what's in this text. This is how you learn. You read one person's text, you agree, you disagree, whatever, no problem. You read another person's text, you agree, you disagree. This is how it works. This is how you learn. It's not about he said, she said. I saw a sign in the sky, and I got a message from a bird, and I saw in a dream. This is not how it works. Or wishful thinking, wishful believing. That's not how it works. Go back to the sources. These dreams, these Italian dreams, the three of them, these three stooge aims, these dreams were not fully materialized, but the policies and actions taken towards their implementation left behind some irreversible historical facts and socio-political legacies which are organically linked with the present Ethio-Eritrean conflict. Present meaning back in at the least 1992 or 1991, around the time this text was published. Soon after consolidating their conquest, the Italians signed series of treaties which clearly demarcated the boundaries of the colony, with the Sudan in the north and the west, Ethiopia in the south, and French Djibouti in the extreme southeast. For a series of these treaties, see Sabbe. Sabbe's text, that is History of Eritrea, pages 197 to 204. Okay, so I don't know what pages they are in the English version, but you'll find it there in any case. They also soon started to enforce law and order in a country where they had previously been unknown. Travaskis mentions that. In a country where they had been previously unknown, they started to enforce law and order. It's not their land, but they're enforcing law and order. Italian law was applied in the colony's newly created 6 administrative units, which are still in use after 100 years. Called commissariati, the administrative divisions were Hamasien, Saraye, Aklaguzai, Basso Piano, Orientale, or Eastern Lowlands, including Samhar and Dankalia, Karan, or Sanhit. Karan, I think Karan either encompasses Sanhit. I think Karan does encompass Sanhit. Sanhit is like, it's either on the outskirts, like right on the outskirts, or it's inside Karan. I'm not sure. So Karan or Sanhit, and Basso Piano Occidentale or Barca. So the Western Lowlands. It is true that this is what the Italian law was applied to these 6 places. It is true that the colony was inhabited by a mosaic of communities who had not much in common, but the accident of their residence in the territory Italy conquered and named Eritrea. That was what they had in common. That's what makes an Eritrean. They happened to live in the same place. People, they act like Eritrea was always Eritrea since the beginning, since the very beginning. They tell you that they say things like, "Oh, we're all Eritrean," as if we're all the same tribe. Yes, we're all Eritrean. Yes, we all worked together in the revolution, but we're not. We have to acknowledge that we're different tribes. We have to respect our tribes. It's not all Tigrunya. I see sometimes Tigrunya chauvinism. This is not Eritrea. You cannot have chauvinism by one group. Eritrea is divided into different peoples. Nara, Saho, Beja groups, Tigrunya, Tigre, Rashaida, Kunama, Afar. I'm missing one, I think. In any case, so Blaine. I'm missing my own tribe. Blaine. So, this is, they also, it is true that the colony was inhabited by a mosaic of communities who had not much in common. But the accident of their residence in the territory Italy conquered and named Eritrea. It was just the accident that they happened to be there. The Afar happened to be there, the Blaine happened to be there, the Saho happened to be there, Tigrinya happened to be there, etc., etc., etc. And where can we find that quote, which Mr. WoldeYesus intelligently made use of in his text? We find that in Travaskis. Travaskis includes this. We need white people to tell us who we are. Because obviously, Higdef and Sha'biya, I've found that there are three major groups, historical groups. So there are those who support the ELF, Eritrean Liberation Front. They still around. And then there are those who are non-Higdef Sha'biya. So they're Sha'biya, but they don't support Isaias. But they still have their views. But they're Sha'biya. And then you have the pro-Isaias Sha'biya, which are the PFDJ, Higdef. People's Front for Democracy and Justice. Yeah. What a truth. Doesn't get any truer. Anyway. However, the very fact that they now shared a common territory, common name, and one paramount chief, even if white, the chief was white, who imposed his laws and his administration over them all, slowly awakened a sense of unity amongst these peoples. So it awakened a sense of unity amongst these peoples because they all started sharing. That's what happened. They shared the same common territory, common name, common chief. Who brought them together? The white man. That's what happened. Think. I'm not saying we shouldn't be together, but the white man brought us together. What do you want me to say? What do you want me to say? I'll read one more paragraph and we'll continue on the next, on another discussion. When the Italians launched their expansionist wars, they conscripted, trained, and regimented under harsh military discipline large number of Eritrean youths from all parts of the territory. Out of the thousands who took part in the first Italian attempt to conquer Ethiopia in 1896, some 4,000 Eritreans were killed or wounded. You can find that in Sabbe's text, page 1. "4,000 Eritreans. Go fight." I don't know if they got paid or not, but here, go fight. Go fight for us. Go fight with us, for us. Black men, go fight for, I don't know if they had women fighting. Go fight for us on our behalf. This is who gave us the name. These are they. These are the ones. These are they, the ones who gave us the name Eritrean. These white slavers, they gave us the name. They made us what we are. They made us what they did to us what we're doing. The Higdef says that he's anti-colonialist when the way that he pushes Eritrean nationalism is the way that he worships the land, he worships everything about it, he worships the colonizer himself. Tattoo Eritrea on your back, tattoo Eritrea on your neck, tattoo Eritrea on your face, tattoo Eritrea where you want it. At the end of the day, if you make a trip to Italy or if an Italian sees you, in his mind, how are you doing? Bello, Mr. Beautiful Guy, how are you doing? You know what's going on? In his mind, we once conquered these people. I don't know if every one of them does that, but hey, that's what happened. About 500 Eritreans who were made Ethiopian prisoners of war at that battle of Adwa suffered amputation of their right hands and left legs. The amputation of especially the right hand was intended to effectively disable the victim. This author saw, meaning Ammar, WoldeYesus Ammar, this author saw one of those amputees at Karan in the mid-1950s. For Eritrean nationalists, it was a reminder of the cruelty dealt upon Eritreans by the Amhara king Menelik. We come to this name again, the Amhara king Menelik. That's what we're talking about in the other text by Dr. Alam Sagad Abbay. Menelik. Menelik is the source of this issue, by the way. He's the source. He started this problem. He sold Eritrea. Menelik. And Amhara supremacy would be a cause of strife in the future. So about 500 Eritreans who were made Ethiopian prisoners of war at that Battle of Adwa suffered amputation of their right hands and left legs. About 60,000 Eritreans were said to have participated in Italy's war over Tripoli in Libya and Cyrenaica, today's Libya, between 1911 and 1931. So they participated in fighting there as well. The place where they're taken by Bedouins for organ transplant, and I believe kidnapped for ransom, tortured with electricity and whatnot. Them, I think, and also others from Tigray and maybe other places when they try to cross there to go through the Mediterranean to find a better life somewhere else, to escape the Eritrea that was fought for liberation and freedom, and peace and prosperity, which does not exist there. This same Libya, they fought on behalf of the Italians there. Between 1911 and 1931. You can also find that in Dan Connell's The Birth of the Eritrean Nation, perhaps in the journal Horn of Africa, Volume 3, January/March 1980, page 17. Volume 3, and in parentheses it says 1. I don't know what the 1 refers to, but it says January/March 1980, page 17. Page 17. Thousands more died in Italy's 1935 aggression on Ethiopia. In World War II, Italy conscripted well over 50,000 Eritreans against the Allies, the Allied powers against the Allies. This common suffering was no doubt manifesting itself to the people that they, without their previous consent, had to have common destiny. This common suffering was no doubt manifesting itself to the people that they, without their previous consent, had to have common destiny. So it was manifesting itself, I believe, to each other, the Eritreans. It started to be clear that they had to have common destiny. We're all the different tribes, because they're all being treated the same way by the Italians. The Italian slave master did the same thing to all of us, so we're all faced with a common destiny. This common suffering was no doubt manifesting itself to the people that they, without their previous consent, had to have common destiny. We'll continue on the next discussion of the series. We'll call this one part 1, and we'll call the other one part 2. And this subject gets me really worked up. You know, it's very. That's not why I'm ending, but but it gets me worked up. You know, it's colonialism is a very satanic act. You know, and and the fact that many people continue to carry this legacy that the Italians left upon us is also, I don't support it. You know, Malcolm X changed his name. Malcolm X was a Muslim like me. He changed his name from Malcolm Little to Malcolm X. When he was asked why, he gave the $1 million. There is no price. He cannot give a price to that answer. The answer was And he didn't teach himself that, but the answer was, we don't. This is that's our slave name. That's our slave name. The slavers were the ones who gave us these names. Muhammad Ali did the same thing. He was Cassius Clay. He didn't want to be called by his slave name, and he's one of the best speakers to have ever existed in my understanding of history. Muhammad Ali. Everything he says has a point. Everything he says has a point. He could be on any talk show where people talk about this and that. He talked about the reality. Nobody could do anything to him because they needed him. I mean, he was very important to the industry. How can you do anything to him? He was untouchable, both in the ring and outside the ring. But you see, he said that he was he didn't want to be called by his slave name. Good for him, and good for Malcolm X. So in any case, be well and peace be upon the righteous ones out there. Let's pray for, a good future for this, for that place, that area, that land. I feel it's had enough. If God is displeased with people from there, may they be guided, and may they seek forgiveness from him, that he take the hardship away from them. Amen. And if it's a test, I hope that, I wish guidance for them. In any case, I'll see you guys in the next session. Peace be with you. Thanks for watching.